Hello my quilting friends, my name is Leah Day and today we are stitching Party Vine. So this funky design starts out with a long vine line through your quilting space, then we're going to travel stitch up the edge, and then now we're going to think loop-de-loop. So think like figure E, something like that, and then you can stop just forming that figure E and think about it, because the next step is a little different. We're going to echo it. So I find that it really helps if I make that kind of different steps in my mind. I find that if I try and do this too quickly, I can end up with a mess. So now I'm going to travel stitch down. I'm going to really think about, let's make some figure E's. So swing out and notice that I put my foot down. I speed up because these are very, very easy to stitch. All right, now I got to really slow down and think about it. Turn it around so that way you can really see what I'm doing. Now I am stitching an echo. An echo is a line that is evenly spaced apart, but notice that sometimes my line gets a little closer together, sometimes it's further out. It's just entirely what I need to fit and fill that area. All right, let's do some little E's. And let's spread them out a little bit. That way we have a little bit more room for that echo line. There we go. That looks great. And then now I'll echo back. So this design is very, very simple. We just form our vine line through our quilting space. Then we go back through and fill it with our leaves, our little funky party leaves. And that's this curly Q E's. And then echo. And I really think that you can stitch this up a notch. You can make that echo wider, you can make it narrower, really mix that up and experiment with it. Another design you could try out just to experiment is twisted tendril. Definitely give that tutorial a try. And then you can also see this stitched as a flower design. Check out Funky Party Flower. That's a former design from our free Motion Quilting Project. Okay, so now that I've got a little practice stitching this on my home machine, let's stitch it on a bigger scale on a real quilt. So now I'm stitching Party Vine on my long arm on a really large scale. So I first stitched my vine line, and then now I'm stitching my loop-de-loop leaves. Just trying to keep this consistent. I don't want it to get too messy, but at the same time, I don't really have time to travel stitch this perfectly, and I'm just curious to see what it's going to look like. And if it doesn't end up turning out, like stitching back along this vine and stitching back forward, just adding some intentional thread play here. And if that doesn't end up working for the look of the design, then I can play around with that. If I need to, I can change feet to an open toe foot so that way I can see my needle a little better. With this particular ruler foot, you can't really see the needle, and that can make travel stitching really challenging. So far, this is flowing really fast. In fact, actually, I would say I need even more space to stitch it because I can expand these wiggly leaves quite a lot. I can make these a lot bigger. I can do lots of loopy-loops, and I can widen the spacing between these lines as I come around. So understand that this is definitely a design that goes on your quilt, and it wants to expand, it wants to stand out, it wants to show off. I could even, now that I'm thinking about it, as I'm stitching along this vine line, I could be doing both sides of the vine at the same time. So I'm going to give that a try next. But I really like the way this is looking. It's very cheerful. It's very fun. I'd say as far as practice goes, this is definitely a good practice for stitching loops. So if you were interested in stitching a loopy line or something like that, this is good practice for a design like that. So now I'm going to stitch all the way back to the beginning. And I'm filling in roughly like a 7-inch space. So this would obviously work as a border design. It could also work as an all-over quilting design. As you can see, it takes up lots of space. And the greatest challenge here is going to be simply reining it in and not making it too messy. You want this to go on a quilt that has this kind of, funky style. Obviously it has a really happy, cheerful effect. So make sure that the piecing on your quilt top kind of matches with the theme of this design. I think this would be perfect on a little girl's quilt, on a kid quilt, you know, novelty fabrics. I think it's going to be a great choice for any of those. So here we go. You can change the spacing of your loops or the direction of your loops if you want to. I had to think about that a little bit as I was stitching it, so just keep in mind that it might take a little bit more focus and concentration, but that had a nice effect too. And here I'm going to loop around, flowing through this area. Little loops to start with, and then I can expand them as I swing around, and that can be really nice too. No wrong way of stitching it. That's the nice thing. And I'll be honest, I kind of like this like thread painted vine line. I kind of like that. I think it really worked. You know, if I had a different foot on, I might have tried to perfectly travel stitch that, and I might not have enjoyed it as much. Sometimes it's really nice to just break the rules, even rules you've set for yourself, and allow yourself to stitch it however you need to that day. This is one of those designs that really is going to be coming in just with more play, experiment, see what you like best. Keep stitching it, keep trying it out, branch it out on your quilt, stitch it in borders, stitch it all over, and see what you like best. This is definitely one for me. I can say I got a little bit of a love-hate going on with it, but I do think that it has a place in our funky kid quilts. I think it would add a lot of cheer to those. So if you'd like to find more videos stitching out designs, both on a long arm and a home sewing machine, come and check out my website, leahday.com/FMQ. Until next time, let's go quilt.